So I think I'm coming to the conclusion that I don't really love paranormal romance. I thought there was something big and scary hanging from the ceiling, but it's actually just the tie back on the curtain, which is a horrible thing to say and I feel terrible saying about it. I'm struggling to find time to read on a weekday. Did it scare me? Absolutely not. Hey, so I'm starting this vlog literally off the back of filming the last clip for last week's vlog, but I'm so eager to get this vlog started because it is already Wednesday and I'm already behind and I really want to participate in the Halloween Smartathon, so here we go. So the Smartathon is a readathon that is hosted by Riley Murray. It's also hosted by the Say's Lainey Crest, but the Smartathon is a readathon that I've been familiar with my entire time that I've had a booktube channel, so like 4 years, because the booktubers that I used to watch, like Chelsea Reads, who read a lot of contemporary and romance, would participate in Smartathon, and at the time I never read Smart. However, now I do read Smart and I've been waiting for a round of Smartathon forever, so even though it's not especially convenient, especially as I'm starting this vlog halfway through the week, I am going to be participating in this month's, I guess, Smartathon. So I have the little bingo board up here and my first book is going to be Black Sunshine by Karina Halley, because this is on my Bookopoly TBR. It is on there to read. I think I have this in to read a romance, and I also have it on my Gothtober TBR, which is to read a dark romance, I believe. I don't know how dark this is, but I'm gonna go with the vampiric nature of it as it classing as a dark romance. I'm just looking at the Smartathon challenges now, so I definitely know that this will count for paranormal. It could kind of maybe count for dark. I'll see how dark it is when I start reading it, because while I don't mind counting it for Gothtober, if I'm counting it for Smartathon, I want it to be actually like a dark romance. Could it count for monster as well? Because we also have vampire on here. It definitely counts for vampire. It counts for red or purple cover, new to you author, and supernatural main character. So we're gonna get a lot of prompts out of this, but I'm going to put the bingo board into my digital journal so that I can like put the cover of the book or cross off all of the prompts that I've already done. But this I don't know too much about. This one was a gift from the lovely Ash, so thank you very much, Ash, for gifting this to me. And this was also recommended to me by Madison Mary from Princess of Paperback a while ago, so I added it to my wish list and Ash kindly gifted it to me. Madison reads a lot of just general romance, like indie romances, and also fantasy romance, and I also trust Madison's recommendations, especially when she recommends to me personally, because I think she knows what I like. So I'm really excited to read this one, and it's a vampire romance, we know that, and from what I can gather from the synopsis, it is about this girl who's a vampire, but she doesn't know that she's one because she was kidnapped by vampire hunters when she was a child, and a week before her birthday she's captured by this guy who she then finds out is indeed a vampire. So I don't know if we have a high fantasy setting, contemporary fantasy, urban fantasy. I don't know what's going on here past those basics, but I will be sure to let you guys know when I'm a little bit of the way into this vlog.
I found somebody, I say you don't cross my mind, and she doesn't know that your favorite place is still mine. Now I take the long way home, avoid what I can't let go. I don't always think about you.
So I think I'm coming to the conclusion that I don't really love paranormal romance. You know, the kind that's like in the same vein as the stuff that was popular in the early 2000s, like the Stucky Stackhouse, who's Stucky? The Stucky Stackhouse series and Dark Fever and stuff, although I did enjoy Dark Fever. But anything that's kind of like urban fantasy style, I don't think I like it that much. And I don't think it's because of the setting or anything like that. I actually think it's because of the stereotyping of the characters in those books and the way that the female main characters are portrayed. And I know people always say, like with the Stucky Stackhouse series, it gets really good at like book 5, and I'm like, I ain't got time for that. I am up to book 5 though, actually. But this one is a new adult paranormal romance, following this girl called Lenore, and we start off where her parents are killing her actual parents who are vampires, and for some reason they decide to take the child with them, which is Lenore. They are vampire hunters, but they're also witches and they're part of a guild, and this is an unsanctioned kill. So they take the baby, take her in as their own and raise her up until around her 21st birthday, when people start to come looking for her because Lenore is a vampire, and it is around a female vampire's 21st birthday that they start to awaken and turn into a vampire. So I am 194 pages into this now, so I'm almost halfway, and I'm enjoying it enough, you know, like it's a really quick read, but I feel like it's delving into a lot of just not even info dumping, but it's kind of like, do you know how I complained in Crown of Gilded Bones that everything's described during dialogue? So every other conversation will be somebody just offloading all of this information about the world, and I don't feel like there is actually enough information about the logistics of what's going on here, because Lenore is a vampire, but she was born, and that is something that's normal in this world. Like, vampires can have children, but the typical lore of vampires is that vampires are humans who have been bitten and then they die and rise again as a vampire. So I feel like if you're gonna go with that traditional lore, there's not too much that you have to explain about what's going on, because that is how people know vampires to be. But if you're gonna do something different like this, where you have literal babies that are born of vampire parents and can grow up and then turn, I feel like you need to go a little bit into the specifics of why this is actually happening. So there's like two stages to the turning. The first is lust and the second is bloodlust, and it explains that, and it's like, this is what's gonna happen in the lust stage, but it doesn't like go into, I don't know, it's hard because like it is just this endless stream of this is happening, this is why it's happening, this is what's gonna happen, but then still not really discussing the logistics of the vampire lore in this series, you know? The writing, I would say, is fine. I obviously have problems with how the story is being delivered, so I'm not loving it. And something that I do appreciate about it though is that it is a slow burn, and I wouldn't even say necessarily a burn, because I don't even know if I'm supposed to be feeling chemistry with these characters right now. All I kind of have is that this guy is hot. I think he's supposed to be around his mid-30s in age, and he wears suits, and I don't know, I just feel like I'm being told everything, so there's no atmosphere and there's nothing aside from what I'm being told, you know, like it's not immersive. Nothing like really smutty or romantic has happened at that point, so I appreciate that, because you guys know I like more sexual tension than the actual smutty scenes, and I like the slow build up. The only problem that I'm having is that I'm not feeling any build or real chemistry between the characters, so we'll see how the rest of this goes. But it's just like kind of average so far. I am getting through it pretty quickly though when I'm sitting down and reading it, but I'm doing the thing that I do, like when I know that a book is a quick read, I don't read it. So I could read this in a couple of hours, but because I know that I can do that, I'm not willing to put the time in to actually read it. So who knows when I'll actually finish that book, because as well as that, I bought Dead by Daylight last night because it is only £12 something, £12.50 or something. It's half price on the PlayStation Store, and I think it's the same on Xbox as well, and I've been meaning to get it a while. So yeah, I'm desperate to play that, so we'll see if I actually get any reading done tonight, because I have the Buffy watch along as well. But I want to get to at least page 300 in this tonight, and we'll see what I feel. Also, because I included it in B-roll, I did manage to get Mayday parade tickets today. I'm so excited. They're doing a 11th anniversary tour, because they missed the 10th with the pandemic, of my favorite album by them ever, one of my favorite albums of all time, which is their self-titled album, and I'm very, very excited. I'm actually going twice, because I was going to go, Curtis doesn't care, but I'm making him go with me. Ryan does care, so Ryan wants to go, so we're going in Leeds, and then I'm also going in Nottingham with Jade from Jade Reads, which will be cool because she also loves Mayday Parade. But yeah, I have an hour until I'm gonna start cooking dinner, so I guess I'll go read some. If not, maybe I'll play Dead by Daylight. I shouldn't, but I might. Morning, it is Saturday morning. We are just past 10 AM. I woke up at like 9:15, and Curtis is out at a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament today. The store that he normally goes to, like, it's our local store, it's not super local, but the store that he goes to every week to play Yu-Gi-Oh is now, I think, an official tournament store, so it's the first day of that stuff going on, so he's gone to do that. And it's Halloween weekend, and I don't want to be stuck inside by myself, so I mean, the weather is truly miserable. I think it's raining out there, so it's probably not a good idea, but I'm actually going to go to the library, and I know What is that? Oh, okay. I thought there was something big and scary hanging from the ceiling, but it's actually just the tie back on the curtain. So that's how good my eyes are without glasses. But I'm gonna go to the library, which I shouldn't do. But I've talked about this before, like I haven't been to the library in a while because pandemic and stuff. It was closed for a long time and I truly don't need any books, but something that makes me want to read more is looking at books. Because like looking at books makes me want to read. So going to the library also makes me really invigorated to read. But at the library I can borrow books and bring them home and like scratch the itch of having new books without buying any books that I don't need. So I'm gonna go to the library, I'm gonna see if I can pick up any horror or anything. That's what I'm in the mood to look for. And then I'm actually going to, I think I'm gonna swing by the deli. I wanted to go out and find somewhere for lunch or breakfast, but I think that I'm actually gonna go out with Curtis tomorrow and get lunch out or breakfast out. So I'm gonna swing by the deli, get myself a panini or a rapini and come home and get some reading done, hopefully. I didn't read anything yesterday and I read one chapter and I kind of want to DNF Black Sunshine, but I also kind of want to see it out. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. I guess we'll see how the rest of the day goes. So I've been to the library. I didn't end up getting anything, but I did stop and get myself a coffee, and I did go to the deli and get my rapini, and then I also got a cookie, but I think I'm gonna save my cookie for a little bit later because we're gonna be having a late dinner because Curtis is watching football after Yu-Gi-Oh! So I think I'm gonna sit, read my book for a little bit and see if I can make it through. I might just sit here till I've finished it, to be honest.
Sometimes I do, 'cause sometimes I drive through all of the streets we used to on First Avenue. 'Cause sometimes I don't even know where I'm going at first. All of the turns that I had to unlearn. Back to the surface, the feeling of all that we were.
So I'm 270 pages into this now, and I have to say, since I've picked it back up again today, I am enjoying it a little bit more. I think it's the writing style in this that I don't like. I just don't think that the writing's very good in it. So everything seems just like a string of things that happen. It doesn't flow very well, and I've just realized when I'm reading, I'm in the middle of a smut scene. Halfway through a sentence it says, and then I realized that things are getting rough, and then continue the sentence. I'm not going to continue because spoilers. So it says, and then I realized that things are getting rough, rest of sentence, then he somehow moves us further back into the bed. And it's just like, this happened, then this happened, and then this happened, then this happened, and that's what's really not making me enjoy this too much. It happened like a couple of chapters back. We were all chill, main character traveled somewhere, opened the fridge, and then something dramatic happened. And then somebody appeared. It kind of feels like you're having a conversation with somebody who's telling you a story where like it's not a crafted story, you know, it's just an account of something that happened to them. It feels very much like that, and it's really just not doing it for me. Also reading a smut scene right now and I feel nothing, and it's actually like, in terms of the scene and what's actually happening, it's good. I'm just like not invested in it because I don't think it's delivered particularly well, but I definitely enjoyed this enough to finish it now, and I'm hoping I can finish it this afternoon. This book is 430-ish pages, so I've only got 160 pages left, so I should be able to do it. So I successfully finished Black Sunshine by Karina. Is it Karina Halley? Because I keep saying Halley, but it could very well be Karina Hall. Also, I need a fringe trim, like it's just not going very well for me anymore. I finished this. I gave it 3 stars. I actually, you know, I don't mind the story in this, and I really do understand why Madison said that she thinks I'm gonna love this, because in a lot of ways it kind of reminded me of The Bargainer by Laura Thalassa. I just really didn't like the writing in it. I think that if this were written by somebody else, I might have enjoyed it a bit more, which is a horrible thing to say, and I feel terrible saying about it, especially when we're talking about indies. But the delivery was just really not there for me. The plot, it didn't really have one. It did the thing that happens in a lot of romance where you just get a random, not a random conflict because it had been building up to it, but like you have this plot going on and then you have, you know, like your crisis moment where something terrible actually happens way into the 3rd act, like right by the end, about 20-30 pages from the end, that was resolved real quickly. The love interest is okay. It didn't feel a whole ton of chemistry between the characters, but then it all just really came down to the writing for me. And I also think that especially the side characters, all of the side characters in here are 2-dimensional. Like they serve their purpose to the plot and to the main character. For example, the main character's parents, aside from kicking off the whole plot by killing her actual parents, they only serve so that when she can go home she can ask them a bunch of questions about stuff and they can give her answers, you know what I mean? So did not love it, but it did pick up a lot in the second half. So I do think I'm going to read the sequel because I think it's only a duology as well. And the sequel is only, well, I say only, it's 20-ish pages shorter, I think, but 30 pages shorter. But this was on my Bookobly TBR to read a romance, so it's done. Fulfilled a whole ton of prompts for Smartathon, which, to be fair, I was going to try and read at least one more book for Smartathon because I have quite a short one. But I honestly just think I'm still burned out on romance. I've read a lot of romance this year in general, to be fair, which isn't my usual. But then aside from that, I did the Wicked Villains thing at the beginning of the month, didn't I? Which just completely burnt me out on romance. So for Smartathon, this is definitely a dark romance. It's paranormal, it's a vampire, it has a red cover. Also a monster romance, kind of separate to it being a vampire romance, which was interesting, and I'm actually intrigued about how that will develop in the sequel. It's a 2021 release. It's a new to me author, and it has a supernatural main character, and that is it. So I don't think I got a single bingo there, which is inconvenient. And then for October, this was on my TBR to read a dark romance, and it is a dark romance as well. Content warnings in there for abduction, kidnapping, and also there's like mention of sexual assault in there as well. Also dubious consent in terms of like trigger warnings within romance specifically, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I sadly think I'm all smutted out. I'm not feeling it. And also because I'm going to be rolling as you go in November, I'm super eager. Like I said in my TBR video, how this was going to go one of two ways. I would either read absolutely nothing because I don't have a TBR, or I would want to read really quickly because I'm excited for my next roll. At the minute, I'm in the phase of where like I'm excited to keep rolling and seeing where my TBR is going to take me. I've also watched Steph's TBR today and also Gavin's, which has a ton of middle grade in, so I'm hyped to read middle grade, which I will be at some point throughout the month because of Believathon. So I kind of want to wrap this vlog up tomorrow and start with a clean slate on the 1st of November. So I am going to be reading one more book this week, hopefully, and I think I'm going to be able to get it done as well because I don't have any plans for the weekend. Actually, I have a live show today, my Patreon Card Rain Inner Circle live shows at 9 PM, but that's typically only an hour to an hour and a half. I'm gonna work out now when I'm done with this update, and then tomorrow I'm playing Dead by Daylight with Ryan and probably Curtis tomorrow night. But I don't have to go anywhere or do anything. I don't have any work to do. I've been on it with work so that I'm just trying to keep my weekends clear, and so far it's going well. So I'm gonna be reading The Haunting of Hill House by Shelley Jackson. I had also as well intentionally not read this throughout the month of October so that I could read it for Halloween weekend. And this one, I can't tell you much about it because I've heard that it's not at all like the show. The show's the reason why I want to read it. But this one is, I think it's an adult horror. It's a classic horror anyway. The back of this just says, no live organism can continue for long to exist sanely under conditions of absolute reality. And the show is about a family who live in this house called Hill House and the effects that it has on their family. And it's kind of like, it's a ghost story. I'm assuming that the book is a ghost story as well, but I do know it's very different to the show. It's not a particularly large book. I'm a little wary because it's a classic, but I have just like had a little flick through and the writing doesn't seem particularly dense or anything. It is 235 pages, so not big at all. And this one is on my Bookobly TBR for the other prompt, which is to essentially read a book that isn't fantasy, sci-fi, or romance. And it is on my Gothtober TBR for the prompt classics, which is to read a book with classic references. I mean, this is a classic, so it counts. So yeah, I'm really excited to dive into that one. So my plan now is that I'm going to work out. I have a 45, well, I've got a 30-minute bite boot camp and then a 15-minute bar scheduled, but I don't know if I'm going to do the bar. We'll see how I feel. And then I think, sadly, it's going to be time for me to start making dinner. And then not long after that will be time for my live show. The reason I'm sad about it is because I was thinking about maybe watching Midnight Mass because I only have one episode left, or playing some Dead by Daylight because I only got that the other day, as I said, and I've only played the tutorial. So I would like to play it, but I don't think I'm gonna have time. We'll see anyway. The longer I stay here and don't work out, the less time I have, so I'm gonna go get on with that.
Always think about you till First Avenue. That's when I do. That's when I do.
So I nipped out to get some breakfast and also to the shop to pick up some bits that I needed, and I put my makeup on this morning and everything, and my hair was nice, and now I'm just like literally soaked through. So that is it for my outdoor Halloween activities. You can definitely guarantee that I will not be leaving the house again today. But I'm on page 62 of The Haunting of Hill House, so not a lot has happened yet. I see already how it's very different from the show in that it doesn't follow a family. It follows this guy who's rented Hill House for 3 months because he wants to write a story. I think it's about like paranormal activity or something. He's a doctor. He's investigating supernatural manifestations and he's doing it in Hill House, and he invites these 3 people, and 2 of them have kind of like reported histories of supernatural incidents. And one of them is related to the person who owns the house, and the person who owns the house said that there has to be a family member on site, which is why he's invited him. I see like which characters they are in the show and how the characters in the show have been based on them, but very, very different so far. I'm kind of just ready for it to get spooky now, because at the minute the house is just kind of seeming foreboding and stuff, but nothing's actually happened in it. But I am only like a quarter of the way through it, and to be fair, I hate the dialogue in here. They're just talking around in circles, and I'm not feeling that. But I need to get changed because I am very, very damp, and then I might read a little bit and then maybe watch some spooky stuff on TV. I actually don't know. The weather's miserable and it's nice that I'm inside, but I just kind of wish I'd never been out.
I guess the truth is I can't leave memories behind. When she asks about you, I hesitate every time. Every time. I don't always think about you, but sometimes I do. 'Cause sometimes I drive through all of the streets we used to on First Avenue. 'Cause sometimes I don't even know where I'm going at first. All of the turns that I had to unlearn. Back to the surface, the feeling of all that we were. I don't always think about you till First Avenue. That's when I do.
Good morning. I'm just on my way out because I have my nail appointment, but I just thought that I would let you guys know that I did not indeed finish The Haunting of Hill House last night. I spent most of my evening playing Dead by Daylight, and then I had to research the Christmas presents I wanted because I was being asked what I wanted for Christmas. But I'm like 110-ish pages I think into this now, so I'm gonna go to my nail appointment and get my wax as well, and then I'm coming back. I have 56 minutes of wrap up to edit, which I really don't want to do, and I'm also going to be joining Gavin's sprint. So yeah, I'm hoping I'm going to finish this tonight. Fingers crossed. If I actually sit down and read it, it shouldn't be a problem, but I'm really eager to get this done now so I can start my November TBR.
Song in every wrong. Beautiful to see the world that way. You'll say yes to anything, believe in what they say. Take a walk with your ultraviolets that fill my soul. Your ultraviolet. And every time I know the truth, speaking one way between me and you, and I'm fine on my own. Swallow this song to serenade the ultraviolets all alone. She knows everything there is to know, and of course she does. Just smile and hush, and in my eyes I fall asleep. Your gracious touch is numbing me. My best dark suit I'll wear for free, looking stylish for make-believe. Oh, you're so smart with your ultraviolets. Broken silence.
Good afternoon. I am just making myself some lunch because, well, because I need to eat lunch. But I still haven't finished Hill House. I'm like 60 pages, I think, away from the end. And I don't know what it is, because I seem to be okay with this at the beginning of the year. But I'm struggling to find time to read on a weekday, and it's quite nice in some ways because I'm not reading like 150 pages every single day. Instead of feeling like, with cutting back my TBR as well, instead of feeling bogged down at the weekend and being like, I have to read all of these books after having spent all week reading, I'm actually feeling quite invigorated to read at the weekend. But then it's also frustrating because like I don't have a lot of this book left, but I'm just not reading it. I suppose over this last year, like my lifestyle has changed a little bit in terms of I exercise nearly every day. I started that in April, which does take some time out of my evening, at least an hour to work out and shower and get ready for bed, I guess, because I normally put my pajamas on. I've also, like, I've been getting up at 8:30, so I go to bed a lot earlier than I used to, which takes time out of my evenings instead of staying up at 2 o'clock reading. I think that might be what it is, because I used to start work later, and therefore I would have more time in the evening but less time in the daytime for working. And now over the last few weeks I have actually had quite a few afternoons off, or sometimes, you guys know, I'll take a weekday off. But something that I don't do, something that I have never done, is really taking a lunch break. I tried to start at one point and it worked out pretty well for a while, and then I got busy and stopped doing it again. I want to get back to having a lunch break, especially because I only have 60 pages left of Hill House, which, to be honest, I'm not actually enjoying it all that much. I just really find the dialogue inane and childish. In terms of spooky stuff, it has started to get spooky now, but the first half of the book, nothing really happens. It's just the dialogue of these characters that I absolutely cannot stand. I mean, the characters are fine. I'm thinking there might be a plot twist. Well, I hope I've guessed what it is. I'm hoping that it does link together cleverly to some other things in the book. But tonight Curtis is going to his mum's for dinner, which means that it's my junk food day. There will be chicken wings and hash browns for dinner, which honestly is my fave. I might just order it. No, don't. I don't want to suggest ordering a takeaway to myself. But then I'm also going to be working out because I can't take a rest day today. I want my rest day later in the week, and I'll probably get down to some reading after that. So like 100% I am finishing Hill House today. I know I keep saying that, but like we're actually gonna get it done this time.
And every time I know the truth, speaking one way between me and you.
After 3 days, I finished The Haunting of Hill House by Shelley Jackson, and I did not like it. I did not like it. I don't really have a rating for this right now. I'm torn between 2 or 3 stars. This was just not for me. It just wasn't for me. I spent the first half kind of waiting for something spooky to happen because, yes, 100 pages is like perfectly adequate for the setup of a story, but for a book that's only 235 pages, I kind of felt like I wanted more spooky stuff to happen a little bit earlier in the book. Now, there were certain unsettling elements in there, and I did appreciate some of those. It's hard now because with horror, where it is at the minute, and especially we're talking about horror in something like cinema, which obviously is different to literature because you have the visuals that you don't have with literature. Horror and cinema in general actually is all about shock value and jump scares, and especially in something like horror, it is about pushing the boundaries further and further, because as you experience more things like horror, your threshold and tolerance gets higher for it, so they have to keep pushing things further and further and further to actually make an audience scared. So obviously with this being written or published in 1959, it's way back when people weren't as used to so much scary stuff, because all of that pushing and boundary pushing hadn't happened yet. So did it scare me? Absolutely not. Was I unsettled? Very slightly. I don't feel like I can fault it on that because, like I said, it was 1959. Like, this could have been the most terrifying thing ever written at that time. I don't know. I wasn't alive. It ends very abruptly as well. I didn't really know where the story was going to go. I kind of expected it to go in a different way, and I kind of do like the way that the plot came about. So my main thing that I didn't like about it actually is the writing. The one thing that I could not stand throughout the entirety of this was the dialogue. It had that 1950s pretentious middle class vibe to it, which makes sense at the time that it was written with the characters that they are. Just personally something that I really don't like. Felt like the characters were just talking in circles and a lot of the dialogue felt pointless to me. I did really enjoy Mrs. Dudley and the comedic relief that she provided, where she essentially just says the same 3 lines over and over again. I loved her. Mrs. Montague, absolutely could not stand her. Was waiting for her to get murdered in her sleep by some angry ghosts. That would have been a good time. But the main thing, the main reason why I didn't like this book is that it is very vague, and it is, I don't want to spoil it obviously, even though it is a classic, so a lot of you guys probably wouldn't mind as much if I spoiled this one for you, and a lot of you guys will have seen the TV show as well, which is very, very different. I see clearly what inspirations they have drawn from the book, and especially relating to some of the characters, because even though the characters are very different in Hill House, 3 of them are named after the main characters in here. Oh, Dr. Montague actually is Stephen Crane in the show, but like in a very different way. So I definitely see those influences in there, and I could see that, and I enjoyed reading it and comparing it to what I knew about the show in my mind. But without going into any kind of spoilers, it is following one character in particular as they experience Hill House and how Hill House affects them. Now, with what is going on with that character and the presence of Hill House, I really don't like that I'm filming with the curtains open, because after reading horror I expect a face. I've just finished Midnight Mass as well, so lots of horror. I keep expecting a face to turn up there. But with the particular thing that's going on with that character, the writing makes sense, because a lot of this is incredibly vague. A lot of the spooky elements can be written off as the character's imagination, and there's many ways that this can come into play, whether it is from her backstory, once again still being really vague because I don't want to spoil it for you, but her backstory can be responsible for what happens while she's at Hill House, or the house could generally be doing things to her and affecting her. But we all know that I don't like vague things, I don't like ambiguity, I don't like endless run-on sentences that kind of meander and go nowhere. And they do serve a purpose to create this atmosphere and paint this narrative within the writing of what is going on with the character. I just really don't like that, and you guys know that I don't like it, whether it is magical realism, fabulism, something like this where the writing style being as it is does serve a purpose. It's just not for me. So 2 or 3 stars. At some point I will write up a review on Goodreads, because I have been doing that recently. I've been reviewing all of the books, well, most of the books that I've been reading, so I will write up some sort of review on Goodreads at some point with a final rating on it. Because the reason why I'm torn between 2 or 3 is personal enjoyment wise, 2 stars, didn't like it. However, I know that a lot of the reason why I don't like this is because of how ambiguous it is and how vague a lot of the things are. So possibly 3 stars, because it definitely is just not for me. It's not for me. But I finished it. And I'm happy that I finished it, because I can now start my November TBR, but I am going to be ending this vlog here and cracking on with some November reads in next week's reading vlog, which is going to be not necessarily a longer vlog, but it's going to cover a longer time period. So I'm hoping to get quite a bit read. That is it for this week's vlog. I hope you guys have enjoyed it if you've made it this far. If you have, please don't forget to like if you liked it and subscribe if you wanna. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye!
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you'll go where nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.